Okay. Yeah, time is yours. Yeah, we have limited time. Already nearly 10 minutes by my watch. Come on, group 6.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon.
ladies and gentlemen. Uh, I'm from Group 6. I would like to introduce my friend, Mr. Hardy, and I am Dewi. We are going to discuss about teaching listening. The first presentation will be delivered by Mr. Hardy. Please, Mr. Hardy, time is yours.
Thank you, Devi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about teaching listening, the first question that may come up to everybody is why does teacher need to teach listening? Yeah, and then the answer is of course, yeah, in order to have listening skill, yeah, for student, because by having listening skill, the listener will allow listening skill will allow the listener to understand what someone is talking about. Having listening skill will allow listener to understand the meaning behind the words. And by having good listening also indicate that we are paying attention to the thoughts, to the feelings, to the behaviors of other persons. And if we pay attention to the thought, to the feeling, to the behaviors of others, means that yeah, this is one way, this is one of the ways to establish communication. Okay, the communication here is in the form of oral language, and then the oral language is divided into two types, monologue and dialogue. Now, what is monologue? What is dialogue? Monologue is a type of communication, but actually this is one-way communication that consists only one speakers, and then the others function only as a listener. And then the monologue usually is in the form of speech, yeah, long speech, and then lecture in the classroom, and then news broadcast on media, reading, and the like. Yeah, that's monologue. While dialogue is a two-way communication that involve two or more speakers, and dialogue can be divided into those exchanges that promote relationship that we call interpersonal, and those for which the purpose is to convey the factual information that we call transactional. Um, Maybe there's a question, yeah? Which one is more difficult? Is it monologue or dialogue? Okay. Now, as I said before, that monologue is one-way communication. So the stream of speech will keep on going without interruption, without repetition, even if the listener don't comprehend the text yet. So there is no time to interrupt, there is no time to repeat. Yeah, even though maybe Yeah. Performance variables. Number five, colloquial language. Number six, rate of delivery. Number seven, stress, rhythm, and intonation. And then the last one is interaction. Let's start one by one with clustering. Now, what is clustering here? Um, Cluster here is a group of items. It can be a word, it can be a number in context of listening process here that has a similarity so that they can be stored or they can be processed as a single concept. Yeah, it is not easy to make to identify the similar number, yeah, when the person uh, listen to something. So this is become problem number one. Yeah, what makes listening difficult? Number two is redundancy. Redundancy means repetition. Repetition, for example, yeah, this is become style of the speaker when they s- when the speaker when the person give a speech in front of people and then they frequently repeat it the same word. For example, I mean, you know that well, blah blah blah, something like that. Yeah, that's the redundancy. And then redundancy sometimes can distract someone focus on the listening. Number two, reduce form. Now, what is reduce form? Reduce form example is I will, and then person say I'll. Yeah, that's reduce form of a word. I'll. Actually, I will. I've got to. I've got to. Actually, the original is I have got to. Yeah? So the reduced form also will hinder, will bother someone in listening process. Number four, performance variables. Now, what are the example of performance variables? The example of performance variables are hesitation, pauses, false start. Now, again, this is sometimes become a style of the speaker when they speak in front of people. They have a lot of hesitation. For example, well, I'm not sure. Yeah, this example of hesitation. Yeah, hesitation also can distract the focus of the listener. And then the next is colloquial language. Now, what is the colloquial language? It is something like slang. Yeah. Example. Yeah. It is frequently happen. Maybe some of you like very much to, to use this phrase. Example. I'm going to, and then you change into I'm gonna. And then example, I want to, you change into I wanna. And then I'm not or is not, and then you change into ain't. Yeah, this is example of colloquial language that hamper in the listening process. And then the next is number six, rate of delivery. Yeah, especially when the native, when the foreigner give speech in front of people, they speak very fast, so the listener doesn't have enough time to comprehend. Yeah? So yeah, this is another factor that hamper listening process. The next is we cannot identify, yeah, the intonation, the stress of word, and then the rhythm of words. So it will be also factor that can that can bother listening process. And then the last one is interaction. Now, conversation is especially subject to all rules of interaction. Now, interaction sample is negotiation, clarification, attending signals, and then topic nomination. Yeah, when the process of listening happen, and then we have to be able to nominate the topic of the text, and then we have to be able to identify or to interpret, yeah, to interpret the signals of the speaker. Yeah, there's uh, items or something that makes listening difficult. Now, in order to avoid all this problem, actually we have to master micro skills of listening and macro skills of listening. Now, what is micro skill of listening? Micro skill is listening skill that related to skill at the sentence level. While macro skill is listening skill that are technically at the discourse level. So this is a micro is only the sentence level, and then macro is the discourse level or the text level. Yeah, the text level. Now, what are the example of micro skills that we have to master is number one, retain chunks of language of different lengths in short-term memory. Chunk of language. What is chunk of language? A chunk here defined as learning vocabulary in context. So sometimes we have to be able to what is it to interpret the word in context, vocabulary in context, not always literally. And number two, discriminate among the distinctive sounds of English. Okay, distinguished sounds of English. Yeah, every letters, every word has its own distinctive sound. Example: A, E, I. Yeah, they have their own specific sound. And then the next is recognize English stress pattern, word in stress and unstressed position, rhythmic structure, intonational contours, and their rules in signaling information. Okay. What I stress here is yeah, example. That's an example. Signaling information. So means that we have to master. We have to be able to identify the body language of the speaker. Yeah. And then next, number four is recognize reduced words. I have already explained the example of reduced words. I will not repeat in this case again. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 is distinguish word boundaries. Distinguish word boundaries. Recognize order of words and interpret word order pattern and their significance. Word boundaries. Now, what is word boundaries? Word boundaries is beginning and ending of word, yeah, separated by space. Because sometimes, especially, I'm sure that all of you here have experience about difficulties in how to start and how to end the word. Yeah, example, when two words become one, yeah, because they usually the foreigner or the native speak very fast, so it will be very difficult for us to catch. Example, first of all, that consists of three words. First of all, and then they say first of all, first of all. So it is difficult for us, yeah, to understand. So we have to master the word boundaries. The next number 6 of the micro skills is um, process speech at different rates of delivery. Okay. In this case, how far the person can deliver speech fluently. Okay. And then the next, number 7 is process speech containing pauses, errors, corrections, and other performance variables. Okay. I have already discussed what are the example of performance variables. That hesitation, pauses, and false start. The next number 8 is recognize a grammatical word classes. Example, what is a noun, what is a verb, yeah, and then what is the meaning, etc. And then the system like tenses, and then agreement, pluralism, and then singular, etc. And then the elliptical form. Now, what is elliptical form? Um, Elliptical form is the omission of word in the sentence. Yeah, the omission of word in the sentence. Here is example. Hari has more money than William. Now, what is complete sentence? The complete sentence should be Hari has more money than William has. It should be that way, yeah. Or Hari has the money than William does. That's the correct one, yeah. But here there is omission. That's we call elliptical form. The next, detect sentence constituents and distinguish between major and minor constituents. Sentence constituents. That's a little bit difficult to understand what is the meaning of sentence constituent. Here is example. My dog, Blackie, has beaten a fried chicken on the table. That's example of sentence. So here there are three parts of the sentence. Number 1 is subject phrase. My dog Blackie. The subject phrase. That's constituent of the sentence. And then number 2, verb phrase, has beaten. And then number 3, fried chicken on the table. That's object phrase. That's also constituent of the sentence. And that's an example of micro skills of listening that we have to know, that we have to master if we want to be able to make a listening process easier. The next, macro skills of listening. Number 1, recognize cohesive devices in spoken discourse. Now, look at here, there is a cohesive devices. What is cohesive devices? Actually, this is connectors, yeah? This is connector. Cohesive devices connectors. Connectors usually indicate a certain meaning in the sentence. So we have to understand it, yeah, in order to be able to have a process of the listening easier. The next, recognize the communicative functions of utterances according to situation, participants, and goals. Um, what is communicative function? Communicative function refers to the purpose of gesture, vocal, and verbal act intended to convey the message. Yeah. Yeah, what is example? Yeah, comment, asking and answering question, and expressing feeling. Yeah. Um, if we understand the message when the process listening happens, so maybe you will have a comment and you will ask and answer the question, and then you can express your feeling correctly. Number three, in first situation, infer means here is draw the conclusion. Yeah, to draw the conclusion of situation, participant goal using real world knowledge. The next, number four, from event ideas describe, predict outcomes. Now, what will happen from these ideas? What will happen from this event? That's we call predict the outcome. The next, number five is distinguish between literal and implied meaning. Now, what is literal meaning? What is implied meanings? Literal meaning mean stated meaning. So means the meaning is what is it? Is stated in the sentence. But implied mean the meaning is not stated. So we can draw the conclusion. Oh, this is the meaning of this message. That's implied, not stated. And then the next is use facial, kinesthetic, body language, and other nonverbal clues to decipher the meanings. Okay. Yeah, we have to use facial expression, kinesthetic sign, and then body language to elaborate the meaning. The last one, develop and use battery of listening strategies such as detecting keywords and then guessing the meaning of the words from context, appealing for help, and signaling comprehension or lack thereof. Okay. Next, there are many types of classroom listening performance.
Classroom listening performance.
Yeah, number one is reactive. Yeah, the class will be reactive if you number one, if you drill either choral or individual that focus on pronunciation. Yeah. So when we teach listening to students, we have to drill them. We have to drill them either choral in a group or individual. And then the next, intensive. Intensive mean here student listen to student listen for a cues in drilling. Teacher repeats word or sentence several times. Students notice intonation, stress, contraction, and grammatical structure. And then types number three is responsive. Okay. Now, your class is responsive if student ask W's question. If you ask W's question, and then your student can answer it. And then they can give comment, and then they ask for clarification. Yeah, something like that. That's the responsive. And then the next is selective. Selective mean if you are teaching listening, you ask your student to listen, especially for people's name and then dates, if there is any, certain facts or event, and then to identify the location, situation, and then to draw the main ideas and draw the conclusion. And then the next is extensive. Extensive means here is listening to the lengthy lecture, and then listening to the conversation, deriving comprehensive message of purpose. Last one, interactive. Interactive. Your classroom is interactive if the method of the listening of the teaching listening is integrated with speaking skill, so it will become interactive. Right? I think that's from me, and then the next will be continued with Bu Dewi. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Yeah.
will
Now,
be continued by
Okay. Yeah, it will continued by Mrs. Devi.
yeah.
will be delivered by,
Okay.
not with.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Come on.
Yeah.
The next will be delivered by Miss Devi Suryanti. Go ahead, Miss Devi.
Thank you very much, Pak Hardy. Now, I'm going to
No,
continue.
no. There is no Pahardi.
Eh, Mr.
Pahardi.
Hardy.
Mr.
Sorry, sir.
Pahardi. No.
Mr. Hardy. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Hardy. Now I'm going to continue the presentation with principles for teaching listening skills. There are several principles for teaching listening skill that can help the teachers to create their own techniques and activities. The first principle is include a focus on listening in an integrated skills course, meaning focus more on listening. Although listening itself is part of an integrated skill, when you're teaching listening, you need to give more portion on listening. And then the second one, use techniques that are intrinsically motivating. A teacher should attract or motivate the students using their interest, their personal interest. When they are attracted to the materials, then I believe that they will be more motivated to do the activity. And then the third principle is utilize authentic language and context. It is very important to use authentic language and real world tasks so that the students can see the relevance of the study with their real life. And number four, the fourth principle is carefully consider the form of listeners' responses. Um, this one is important for teachers to design listening technique that is able to indicate the students' comprehension through their response, whether the response has been correct or incorrect, still incorrect. In our book, in Brown's book, there are 9 different ways proposed by Lunt in 1990, 9 different ways that can check listeners' comprehension. The first one is doing, when the listener responds physically to the command, and then choosing, the listener selects from alternatives such as pictures, objects, and text, and then transferring, the listener draws a picture of what is heard, and then answering, the listener answers questions without the message, condensing, the listener outlines or take notes on a lecture, and then extending, the listener provides an ending to a story heard, and then duplicating, when the listener translates the message into the native language or repeats it verbatim, modeling, the listener orders, for example, orders a meal after they listen to a model order. And the last one is conversing. Uh, when the listener engages in a conversation that indicates appropriate processing of information. And the next principle is encourage the development of listening strategies. The technique designed by the teacher should enable students to develop their listening strategies, such as looking for keywords, looking for nonverbal cues, meaning, predicting a speaker's clarification, and listening for the general gist. These listening strategies are very important for students for their further learning listening. And then the last principle is including both bottom up and top bottom listening technique. What are bottom up and top bottom listening techniques? Bottom up listening technique focuses on sound, words, intonation, grammatical structure, and other component of spoken language, while top down listening techniques are concerned with the activation of schemata, the writing meaning, global understanding, and with the interpretation of text. Um, Listening techniques from beginning level to advanced. There is a sample of listening technique proposed by Peterson from beginning level to advanced level. If you see our book on page 313, each of level consists of bottom-up exercise and then top-down exercise and interactive exercise. Let's see it one by one. The first goal is to discriminate between intonation counters in sentences, and then discriminate between phonemes, selective listening for morphological endings, select details from the text or word recognition, and listen for normal sentence word order. So the level is still in sound, words, intonation, level. And then the top-down exercise for beginning level listeners. The goals such as discriminate between emotional reaction, get the gist of the sentence, recognize the topic, and recognize the topic. And then the interactive exercise that can be given for the goals are build a semantic network of word association, recognize a familiar word and relate it to a category, and follow directions. The second one is for intermediate level of students. Let's see the bottom-up exercise. The goals of bottom-up exercises are it can be recognize fast speech forms, find the stress syllable, recognize words with reduced recognize words with reduced syllables, recognize words as they are linked in the speech stream, and recognize pertinent details in the speech stream. And the top-down exercises can be to analyze discourse structure to suggest effective listening strategies, listen to identify the speaker or the topic, listen to evaluate themes and motifs, find main ideas and supporting details, and make inferences. The interactive exercise for this level can be to discriminate between registers of speech and tones of voice, recognize missing grammar markers in colloquial speech, use knowledge or reduce forms to clarify the meaning of an utterance, use context to build listening expectation, listen to confirm your expectation, use context to build expectation, use bottom-up processing to recognize missing words, compare your prediction to what you actually heard, and then use incomplete sensory data and cultural background information to construct a more complete understanding of a text. That's the interactive exercises for intermediate level listeners. Now the last one is for advanced level listeners. The possible goals for bottom-up exercise are to use features of sentence stress and volume to identify important information for note taking, and then become aware of sentence level features. In and become aware of lexical and suprasegmental markers for definitions. And then the last one, identify specific points of information. While the top-down exercises can be to use the introduction to the lecture to predict its focus and direction, use the lecture transcript to predict the content of the next section, and find the main idea of a lecture segment. The interactive exercise for advanced level learner, the goals are to use incoming details to determine the accuracy of prediction about content, and then determine the main idea of a section of a lecture by analysis of the details in that section, and then make inferences by identifying ideas on sentence level that lead to evaluative statements. Use knowledge of the text and the lecture content to fill in missing information. And the last one, use knowledge of the text and the lecture content to discover the lecturer's misstatements and to supply the ideas that he or she meant to say. Yeah, after we deal with micro skills, micro skill, macro skills, and then types of classroom performance, yeah, and then the principle of teaching listening. The last one, we will discuss about assessing listening in the classroom. There is a sample of listening assessment taken by Brown here. The first one is intensive listening task. This task is probably distinguishing phonemic pairs such as grass and glass, minimal pair, leaf and leaf, and then it can be also distinguishing morphological pairs, miss and mist, miss and mist, or distinguishing stress pattern like I can go versus I can't go, and then paraphrase recognition like when you're saying I'm Taiwanese, it means I come from Taiwan. And another task is repetition. And the second type of tasks is responsive listening task. It's questions like what time is it, or multiple choice responses. Or it can be also answered by open-ended response. And then simple discourse sequences like hello, you, pop test. And the third type of task is selective listening task. Listening close. Students fill in the blanks. So students fill in the blanks. And then verbal information transfer. It is multiple choice verbal responsive. And then picture cued information transfer. Students choose a picture. And then sentence repetition. Students repeat stimulus sentence given. And then number four, the last one, the last type of listening task, it is extensive listening task. It can be dictation, where students listen and then they write. And then dialogue, students hear the dialogue with multiple choice comprehension questions. Or it can be also dialogue. Students hear a dialogue with open-ended response, essay questions. And it can be students hear lecture, then take notes, they summarize, and they list the main idea of the lecture. And then interpretive task, students hear a poem interpret and interpret. So students retell a story, retell a narrative story. Yeah, I think that's all our presentation. If you have any questions, we shall have further discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, before question and answer session. Whether Idam Haikal, where are you? Are you hiding?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Idam Haikal? Idam Haikal,
Yes,
are
I'm
you?
here.
You are here. Yes, switch on your video. Jajang also.
I've done, sir. I've
Yes.
clicked on my video.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, just a moment. Before. Yes. Okay. I would like you to switch on your video, all of you. Yeah. Because I want to see your face, your beautiful face, your handsome faces. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to have question and answer session. There are so many terms, yes, so many terms. Maybe some of them are new for you. I would like you to understand all the terms given by Mr. Brown. Yes, he is one of the my favorite lecturer in the world. Yes, he is a lecturer at University of San Francisco. He is my idol. Yes, in teaching. Yeah, one of my idols in teaching, Mr. Brown, and also Mr. Richards, University of Hong Kong. I follow them. Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now it is the time for you, the class. Yes, the 12 student, 11 students. One student is absent. 11 students to ask group, yeah, to ask this group, Mr. Suhardi and Miss Dewi Suryani. Come on, time is yours.
Good
Maybe
afternoon,
I try
Mr.
to.
Uh,
No need to greet good
Oh yes,
afternoon.
Mr.
No,
Dian.
it is this is English style, not Indonesian style. In Indonesian style, you know that every time to start speaking, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, salam sejahtera, namo buddhaya, and others. Every time. Yes. But in English tradition, no need. Just at the beginning. Yes. Come on.
all right, sir. Thank you. Uh, I would like to ask about the repetition. Is there any explanation of repetition or sample of repetition?
Repetition. Yes,
Right.
repetition. Okay.
Repetition and listening task, assessing type of listening, is it?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Miss Devi and Mr. Suhardi, how many questions are you going to pick? Two by two, or three
Uh,
by three?
this okay one by one?
One by one. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm.
Okay. Answer the questions then. Answer the
Yeah.
questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dian. According to my opinion, repetition and intensive listening task is students repeat the word. Teachers make sure that students has already known how to pronounce a word. It's like it's probably like it's like when the teacher said the word like what is it? Yeah. When the teacher mentioned when the teacher mention a word, then the students repeat. Maybe like that. Is it Pahardi? Would you please add?
Mupa
Eh,
Hardi. Okay.
Mr. Hardy. Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
okay. Yeah. So yeah, like it is correct actually. Yeah, Miss Dewi, that repetition is repeated the word. Yeah. It can be word, it can be dialogues, yeah, it can be expression also. Yeah, there are many.
No, no, no. Sorry. Not dialogue.
What?
Repetition must be the word or maximum sentence, not dialogue, sir.
Yes, yes. Okay, it can be word, it can be also expression or sentence. Okay. Dialogue
Yes.
here, I mean, is when they practice the dialogue, and then I ask them to practice the second time. That's what I mean, sir. That's what I mean, sir. Um,
That
okay.
is interactive.
Yes. There are many types of repetition. Repetition may happen between teacher and students. So, teacher say the word, and then student should follow the word which is uttered by the teacher. And then number two, also can repetition may happen between student and students. Okay. And then students say the word, and then the other say another word, other words. Yeah. Now, what is the function? What is the benefit of having repetition? Yeah, this is only simple actually. Yeah, in order to loosen our muscle tongue, because sometimes it is very difficult to say the word, to utter the word, even though we have something in our mind, but when come to my mouth, is it very difficult to come out? Is it very difficult to produce? So this is the solution to overcome this problem is by having repetition, by having drilling. By drilling, by having repetition, and then student will be accustomed to something. Yeah. So it is not strange anymore for students to say the word in English. It is not strange anymore for students to what is it to express the expression. Yeah, it can loosen our muscle tongue. That's all. That's the repetition.
Okay.
Uh,
What is the function of repetition in listening?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, excuse me, sir. One more. Then I forgot to mention, because this is a listening activity. So the function of repetition here is to familiar the word in their ears, so their listening skill will be better. Will be better. It will be more sensitive to catch the word in English. That's the function of repetition in listening activity. Yeah, thank you, sir,
How
for reminding me.
how do you know that the functions of the ears or the listening skill functions well? How do you know?
Um, how do I know? Usually, if they are not familiar with the word, automatically they do not catch what the teacher said, what the teacher say. So when I ask question, they cannot answer it. But when they are familiar, with they are sensitive, their listening skill is more sensitive, and then they can catch all the words. And then when the teacher asks the question, they can answer it. Yeah, that's the way how to get to know either the students are familiar with the word or not. Either they are sensitive with English word or not. Thank you, sir.
Yes, that is number one. But the first one is by checking it whether they pronounce the word well or not. Yes, when they
Yeah.
pronounce the word precisely as it is written on the dictionary, this is a repetition, Mr. Dian. Mr.
Uh,
Dian,
yes, sir.
follow me. Follow me.
Yes.
Lecturer. Your your listening skill is wrong. Lecturer. All of you. All of you.
Lecturer,
Lectural.
Lecturer.
lecture, lecturer,
Some are still wrong.
Lec-
Lecturer.
lecturer,
lectural.
Lecture.
lecturer,
Lecture.
What is what is lecturer?
Lecture.
lecture. It is about lesson,
That is
lessons.
why you pronounce in the wrong way. Lecturer is a person who gives lecture.
Lecture.
Is a person who teaches. Yes. So your listening skill is still wrong. Okay. That is the importance of repetition.
Repetition.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
it?
To
Yeah.
drill again and again, again and again. Yeah. To repeat. Yeah. Come on, all of you. Lecturer. Come on.
Lecturer,
Lectural.
lecturer,
Lecture.
lecturer,
Lecturer. Come on.
lecturer, lecturer,
Lecture.
lecturer,
Lecturer.
lecturer.
Lecturer. Yes. This is repetition. Yeah.
Lecture.
To say again and again. Yes. To write again and again in writing. In listening, to say and again, and you listen. Yeah, that is repetition. Yeah. To test whether repetition in listening is good or not by pronouncing or by writing. Yeah. To check out it. Okay. Next questions. Come on.
Can I, Miss Dewi?
No need to ask can I because this is your chance to ask. This is your time to ask. This is your right to ask. Come on.
Okay.
No need to have a permission. Just say my name
Okay.
is.
Okay. I want to ask a question about gender. Yeah, gender in a part of important elements of the listening process. Yeah, Mr. Hardy explained it before in the previous. So, uh, is gender here ability of male or female, uh, or maybe according to my opinion, gender here is not the ability of listening, yeah, the ability of listening, male or female, but according to my opinion, gender here is what we talk it. Here, I give you an example. Um, but before I give you an example, actually it should be equal in ability of listening between a male and female. It should be equal, I think. Yeah, but I'm not sure. Yeah, and gender here, according to my opinion, is um, what male or female, something like this. This an example. The speaker talk about makeup, or the speaker talk about football. Yeah, football. So this is the thing can influence the listener. Yeah, so this is can influence the listening process. So gender here not is ability of a male or female, but I think this is the background of acknowledgement of male or female. But I think I'm not sure too. But can you explain more about gender here? But I think if male or female, it should be equal in ability. Thank you.
Okay, come on. Group 7.
So, Dewi, you want to answer it first? Go ahead.
No, Pak Hardi. Mr. Hardi, please.
Well, yeah, I said before that gender is one of the elements that influence the process of listening. Now, what I'm thinking here is gender mean male or female. But I said before that I don't think it will be correct because no matter the gender is either male or female can they can have the same ability in English. In English. Now, if the ability of the gender person who learn English here, for example, male, and then we talk about football, we talk about razor, for example. Yeah, of course, they are not the top. They are the topic is not their cup of tea, right? Yeah, the female are not interested in this topic, sport, for example, yeah, and then racing, car racing, etc. In this case, of course, usually male will be more responsive. So as if they can speak fluently. Now the problem is not because they have good ability, they have better ability in English because they have a lot of knowledge about sport, because they have a lot of knowledge about automotive. Yeah, but when we talk about sinetron, when we talk about cooking, yeah, in front of a female student, of course, they can tell this topic fluently. They can tell this topic much, yeah, about
Yeah.
the topic, yeah, because they're interested to talk about it. And again, in this case, it doesn't mean that female are better in language. In this case, yeah, they look as if they have a better English mastery, yeah, because they master the topic about cooking, about the food, yeah, about the entertainment, for example. So um, if the case is related to the topic, okay, I agree. Yeah, it depends on what kind of topic that the learner are interested in. Okay, but if we talk about English in general, there is no difference, I guess, yeah, between male or female. They have the same ability. Yeah, it depends on, and it depends on their background. It depends on their interest. It depends on their talent, etc., etc. Um, yeah, I think that's all. That's my explanation, Mr. Rifki Taptazani. If you want to have comment, if you want to have more comment, go ahead. Or maybe the others. Or maybe the others.
Okay, I think Mr. Rifki's command is good. That is right. Yes, and also Mr. Hardy's answer, yeah, to what Mr. Rifki's question is good. Yes, in English tradition, we know what is called female language. Yes. It is related to the topic they usually talk about every day. Like gossip. Gossip is called female language. Yes, because the person who do gossiping is always women, mothers. Yes. But today men also do gossiping. Yes. So it is now not female language anymore, but formally the etymology of gossip it is female language. So Mr. Rifki is right that it depends upon the topic we are talking about. Yes, if you are talking about cooking, maybe women will be more capable than us, men. Yes, than men. Talking about football, maybe Mr. Suhardi will be better than Miss Devi. Yes, yeah, it depends upon it. But uh, from this topic, we can say also the ability to talk about football, maybe because it is male, yeah, male favorites, sports, maybe male will be better than female. Yes. So both of you are right. Yeah.
Yes.
So you should know that in English tradition we have what is called female language and male language. It is not to discriminate between man and female. Yeah. Yeah, it is related to the favorite talk every day. Okay? Favorite discussion every day. Okay, go on.
Okay, I would like to ask question to Miss Dewi about listening.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I would like to ask question to Miss Dewi and Mr. Hardy about listening technique for intermediate levels. There are bottom-up exercise and top-down exercise. Could you please give us easy examples for bottom-up exercise and top-down exercise? I just read
Good
that there is
question.
three types, right? It's about listening technique for intermediate levels, also for advanced levels, also for intermediate levels, and also for advanced level. For the second question is, what is the fundamental difference from beginning levels, intermediate levels, and also advanced levels? Thank you so much.
Uh, Miss Ratilala. Okay. Your questions is the fundamental difference between the
Yes,
beginning level, intermediate level, and advanced level learner
advanced levels.
in
And
bottom
also,
up
could you please
exercise
give
and
us examples about uh, what in the beginning level you told us before about bottom up exercise and top down exercise? The
okay.
application in the class, what kind of bottom up exercise and top down exercise?
Yeah. Before I give an example, let me repeat about bottom up exercise and top down techniques. Yeah. In bottom up, it focuses on sound, words, intonation, grammatical structure, and other components of spoken language, while top-down techniques concern with activation of schemata, deriving meaning, global understanding, and with the interpretation of text. Of course, the difference, in my opinion, between the beginning level, intermediate level, and advanced level is the level of the difficulty. Of course, there will be different. Yeah. Maybe let's take an example from the book. For beginning level of listener, the bottom up exercise. Let's take the first goal: discriminate between intonation counters in sentence. So Students can listen to a sequence of sentence patterns with either rising or falling intonation. So the goal is to check the students' understanding on the intonations, and then they can place a check in column one for raising intonation or column two for falling intonation. So whether or not the students can get every words they hear has falling or rising intonations. That's the example of bottom up exercise for beginning level. And for intermediate level, we can see, let's take one goal here. It is recognize fast speech forms. Recognize fast speech form. So the students listen to a series of sentences that contains unstressed function words, and then circle the choice among three words on the answer sheet. For example, up, off. So they listen to three words, up, off, and circle one of the words they heard. And this one is more difficult than the first one. It's only at identifying rising and falling intonation. And then for advanced level learner, let's take the first goal to use features of sentence stress and volume to identify important information for note taking. So they have to take notes from this. Students listen to a number of sentences and extract the content words which are read with greater stress. Write the content word as notes. So this one is much more difficult than the previous one. So that determines the level of uh, beginning, intermediate, or advanced level. Now let's go on with the top-down exercises. This is not related to component of spoken language, but it has greater objectives. Let's take the first goal is to discriminate between emotional reactions. So from listening, students has to identify the emotional reaction of the speaker. The students listen to a sequence of utterances, and then they have to place a check in the column that describe the emotional reaction they hear, such as whether the speaker is happy, sad, surprised, or interested, etc. And top-down exercise for intermediate level listener. Let's see the first goal. It's analyze discourse structure to suggest effective listening strategies. The students listen to 6 radio commercial. So students listen to 6 radio commercial. This one is more difficult than the previous ones, than in the beginner level. With attention to the use of music, repetition of keywords, and number of speakers. And then they talk about the effect these techniques have on the listeners. So they have to analyze 6 radio commercial. And then for advanced level, the top-down exercise here is the first goal is to use the introduction to the lecture to predict its focus and direction. Students listen to the introductory section of the lecture, then read a number of topics on your answer sheet and choose the topic that best expresses what the lecture will discuss. So they listen to the topic and then they have to decide the topic. Uh, what I can conclude here, to differentiate beginner, intermediate, or advanced level, I think one of them is to determine the difficulty of the materials, the difficulty of the materials. Yeah, yeah. I think that's all, Mr. Hadi. You
Yeah,
please add.
your answer is very complete. Yeah, this is very technical. You can give example. It's very detailed because it is already stated in our PPT. Yeah, in our PowerPoint. But if I may add the explanation, yeah, just only one word. Bottom up exercise is by teaching students using bottom up exercise concept means that teacher expect that the student understand the specific things, the details from the general concept. And then the top-down exercise is the opposite. So the students understand or can draw the conclusion, the general thing um, into details. Into details. Yeah, that's all my addition. My what is it? Yeah, my more explanation about it. But actually, the complete answer is from Miss Devi. Yeah, that's the complete answer.
Thank you so much
Yes.
for the great
Okay.
Let me
explanations.
regarding to bottom up and top down process, I would like to ask you, give me the simple examples of bottom up process of listening. Yeah, listening, of course, relating to speaking. Yes, what somebody speak is you listen to somebody's. Okay, so what is bottom up process should you do if you teach your students elementary school, for instance? Bottom up. Mr.
Uh,
Hardy or Dewi or other. Yes.
Bottom up process is if we this is in the term of teaching listening yesterday. Okay, bottom up process is we can explore the details from students and then we can conclude the answers from students. That's the bottom up process. Bottom up process from the students. So the ideas, yeah, we explore, yeah, we explore the ideas from students, and then we conclude. That's the bottom up process. And then top down is from the teacher. From the teacher, give the ideas, and then ask students to elaborate into details. That I'm not sure. This is only my what is it? My general understanding about bottom up process and top down process.
Okay, right. Okay, okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is bottom up process. Yes, when you teach your students to listen from sound, yes, letter, yeah. For instance, A, and then A, D, that is letter, C, D, and then buy, book, yes, word, and then a book, yes, two words, yes, and then buy a book, phrase, yes, and then I buy a book, sentence. That is the process of bottom up in language. Yes. Top down, you analyze, you speak, for instance, I buy a book. Come on. I buy a book, and then they
I buy a book.
listen, I buy a book. Buy a book.
Buy a book.
Buy a book.
Book.
Buy a
Book.
book.
And then book.
I
That is
book.
top down.
I book.
Yeah, from the smallest thing of language to the biggest. That is bottom up. From the biggest thing to the smallest thing, that is top down. Yes. Yeah, that is top down process. Yeah. The first you ask students to pronounce, for instance, and then the other will listen, pronounce A, B, C, that is sounds, and then they write down A, B, C, and then book, a book, buy a book, I buy a book. That is the process from the very smallest one, from sound, letter, word, phrase, until sentence, for instance. That is called bottom-up process. The bottom-up process until a sentence It is called micro skill until sentence. Above sentence, for instance, question and answer. How are you, Mr. Suhardi? I'm very well. That is dialogue, yes? Dialogue. Even though just 2 sentences, that is called macro skill. Yeah. Listening above sentence, listening to conversation, listening to dialogue, listening to speech, listening to lecture, listening to the radio, listening, watching television. That is called macro skill. Yeah. Below sentence, until sentence, sentence, below sentence, it is called micro skill of language. Okay, is it clear for you now? You know the difference between micro skill and macro skill, bottom up and top down. If I give you one novel and then I ask you to analyze the novel by chapter, what is it? What is the process?
It's top-down process.
Yes, top-down process. I give you 4 paragraphs, not in order. And then I ask you to make them in order to become a story. What is it?
Bottom up.
Yes, bottom-up process. You get it. Okay? You teach your students the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What is it? You are teaching what kind of skill?
Bottom-up process.
No. What kind of skill are you teaching? You are teaching alphabets.
Micro skill.
Yes, micro skill. Yeah. You teach a paragraph to analyze word by word, sentence by sentence. What kind of skill are you?
Macro skill.
Macro. Yeah, macro skill. Yes. You sing a song. What kind of skill is it? You sing a song.
Macro.
Yes, macro skill.
Macro.
Yeah, because it is above sentence. Macro skill. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So you get 4 terms. Yeah, the meanings of 4 terms. Bottom up, top down, micro skill, and macro skill. Micro, not micro. Microlet. Microlet. Okay. Yeah. Do you still have any questions? Yeah. One more, maybe still have 2 or 3 minutes to go. Any more?
Okay, Miss. I will ask, ladies and gentlemen. I will ask about. Can you tell me about clustering and redundancy? And can you give example? Clustering and redundancy.
Yes. Good questions.
Can
Clustering.
clustering.
Redundancy. Come on, Mr. Hardy and Devi.
Okay, clustering. Clustering is we can collect, we can collect item into a group it can be word, it can be number, having similarity. Yeah, having similarity. We can collect item. It can be a word, it can be number. Having similarity. That's a clustering. The example clustering is when we talk about transportation facilities, we can elaborate transportation facilities like airplane, and then a train, bus, microlet, bajaj, ojek, etc. That's example of clustering. In number, for example, when we mention the number of telephone, it can be very long. For example, my number 081281175594. It's very long, and then this is very difficult to identify, very difficult to catch, yeah, for the listener. So we can make it into group of number, become a three part. For example, the first part is 0812, and then 8117, and then the third part is 594. That's clustering in number. Okay. Redundancy means is a lot of repetition. It happens when the speaker speech in front of others. They usually uh, he or she usually use many expression, yeah, which is we repeat it again and again. For example, I mean, you know that I graduated in 1990. You know, after that I continue my study at senior high school. After that, you know, because I don't have money to continue my study at university, so you know that I look for a job. This example of redundancy, and then it can distract the listener attention, the listener focus. Okay, so that's my explanation about clustering and redundancy.
Okay.
Sorry. It is the different meaning. Yes. What makes listening difficult? Yes. It is not about forming a group or grouping the words. No. Yes, clustering means grouping the words in a sentence. Yes, let me have two example. For instance, how do you pronounce I? How many cluster do you have? I went to school by bus. Come on, all of you.
I
I
went
went
to
to
school
school
by
by
bus.
How
Six.
many cluster?
Six.
clusters.
How many cluster?
Six.
How many groups of words in a sentence? That is clustering.
What do you mean class? What do you mean cluster here?
The clustering, how many groups of words in this sentence? I went to school by bus. Come on, pronounce it in English to make clustering.
I went to school by bus.
Come on, pronounce it
I
well.
went to
To school
school by
by
bus.
bus.
To school by bus.
How
Bus.
many groups? How many
Four groups.
Four groups. You are wrong, sir. English people do not speak like that. At least they have only 3 groups. I went to school by bus. And sometimes 2 clusters only. Went to school by bus. Not Don't teach your student like this. I went to school. No, no, no. It consists only 2 or 3 clusters. That is why listening is difficult for us to understand. Because he said, I, I ran to school by bus. Ran to school by bus. It seems that I is hidden. To is hidden. Yeah. Bus, by is hidden. So it only, I ran, yeah, I ran to school by bus. That is why Indonesian people is very difficult to understand. Yes. So this is the meaning of clustering. Clustering in speaking and listening, not clustering of the words motor cars, train, planes. No, 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 no. It is another meaning. Yeah. Redundancy also. The meaning of redundancy is too much. Yeah. For instance, if I say something and then ladies and gentlemen, that is redundancy.
Mm.
Yes. It makes the listeners difficult to understand because too many words. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I have ever been in Singapore. That is redundance. Yes. So that is why it is very difficult to understand native speakers' speech because of clustering, redundancy, reduced form. I want to go home. I want to go home. Yes. It is reduced. Want to go, want to go, want to go, want to go. Yes. And performance variables and also and others. Yeah. That is why listening is difficult because of these aspects. Okay, remember that clustering is grouping the words in one sentence. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it is over now, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you are very serious. We are very serious in learning this. Okay, because time is over. Thank you very much to Mr. Suhardi and Miss Devi for your presentation and explanation to the questions of your friends. And thank you to all the participants. And I would like to say that group 8, yes, prepare yourself, do your best for the next meeting. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to this class today. Goodbye.
Right, sir. You're welcome, sir.